Kira.
Have you any hobbies?
My hobbies are fast cars and fast women.
Hobbies are healthy. They teach you things. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Well, look who it is. It's the PFM boys, and we're back at it again. And I will say, we didn't discuss who's going to be host this week, and I guess it's going to be me. But we got the panel back together. Why? Because we got some UFL news. Summer break is over. We've been talking about that on the UFL podcast, Zachy boys. Summer break is over. Back to school. We're getting all the action, and we got the gang back together. Before we jump into who's here, as if you couldn't see it on the screen anyway, close your eyes, act like you don't see them. Couple things that I always forget to do on this show. At Around the UFL, go follow us. What the hell are you doing? At PF Newsroom, at UFL Newsroom. Yep, that was right. Go do it. Do it right now. If you're over on YouTube, which it's the only place to watch us right now because we're live, make sure you subscribe. Click the bell. It builds morale. It also lets you know when we go live just like this. Baby. And inevitably Spring Stock 4. But before we get into the fun, I got Zachy boy. I got James. I got Ducky. I'll start with you, Zach. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Already getting kind of up to speed with you the last 2 weeks. So I'm feeling great, getting back into the swing of things on the UFL front, and it's been great catching up on all the stuff off-season wise that's been going on that we haven't had really a chance to talk about. But now, again, perfect timing. Coaching staff's getting filled up fully once again. It's just the right time for everyone and want us to jump back in. Let's do this thing. And I'm good to see the guys below here that I've been talking on screen, but I haven't seen video-wise in a few months. So it's good to see you both gentlemen down below too.
Mr. Larson, Mr. having fun over there, having a good time. Mr. Larson, how you doing today?
Doing well. Excited to be back on the show. It's been a little while. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little under the weather, but hey, the weather. It's only because Memphis is doing so well because they finally got a new head coach, so they had to send some crappy stuff up here to Michigan. So it's what it is.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. This is that transition weather where if you don't get it now, you'll get it inevitably, and it'll last a little bit. It probably won't be too bad, but it'll be nagging.
Yep.
Speaking of nagging, my man Ducky, how you doing today, my friend?
Good. I'm feeling over the weather because I'm a little bit taller than
Over
James.
the weather.
Just a little bit.
We both got
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah.
He's
I
on
like
top of
your
things.
title underneath your name. It's a good one.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely one of the titles I've ever had.
I just realized both of your titles. I like that. Here's what I want the people in the chat to do. Let us know if the audio sounds good, because for whatever reason, StreamYard, I don't get it. They don't have an audio meter. It's silly. It's wacky, but they don't. I think we sound good, but I never know what I sound like. So I've noticed one of two things, either too loud or too quiet, but I want to be just right. Like what was it? The Three Bears? Is that what that
Yeah.
is? Goldilocks?
Talking
I want to be
porridge.
like Goldilocks in the porridge, just right.
Audio
Which-
porridge.
Which I mean really kind of leads us to the big news. Is I'm assuming this is how Memphis Showboats are feeling, just right about now. They got a new head coach, they got a new GM, they even had a whole press conference to discuss the matter. Which, James, you were there. You were there firsthand. I'm sure you got some questions, and I know they dropped it on their YouTube channel earlier. I was flipping through, and I saw you on there, so I was like, "Oh, wow! Look, they
Bring you
left
up.
everybody in."
Look at that. BFN on the UFL YouTube channel. We'll take it.
See, now you know. Well, I don't. I'll tell you after the call because I don't want anyone to steal my idea. But
Yep. Post live discussion. We'll definitely get to that. But yeah, hey, I'll jump in really quick with just some early thoughts on the press conference. It really wasn't anything too spectacular. I mean, it's over Zoom. It's kind of in the middle of the day. Not everyone can make it because other people have day jobs, and some of us actually do have day jobs, but still find a way to make it. But that's besides the point. Getting to what the press conference was about itself. I thought it was intriguing how Ken really was open about how he's not really too versed with the Memphis Showboats organization itself. He more so was just having discussions with the league and with Daryl Johnston about how he wanted to be involved with the UFL moving forward. He really likes this opening with Memphis. Obviously, he's got ties to the Tennessee area and really that whole area down south, having been in Alabama and all those connections and ties there. So for him coming into the UFL, he just really wanted to get into the league. He wanted to get back into pro football. He was in college football for about 2 years, give or take, and he enjoyed the experience. But, there's nothing like pro football, and he wanted back in, and he saw this. This was like something new for him. It'll give him a bit of a different feel to the pro football scene, and he's excited to really try to take this Memphis organization and turn it around. But at the same time, one of the questions I asked him was, looking back on this Memphis past season, they didn't perform very well. 2-8 record is really no surprise. The only team that they beat, which was twice, was refs Houston Roughnecks, who were somehow just slightly worse than this Memphis team, but they were. But his answer was to be. Oh, sorry, I didn't even say what my question was. What I asked him was, what were some of the positives you saw from this 2-8 Memphis team that you want to build upon? And his answer was straight up like, I don't really know. He hasn't even really looked at the team, and that's what him and Jim Manos, the new GM, they're going to do that over the next few weeks. They also are going to be working on installing their coaching staff, so that'll be exciting. We'll see who they bring in. He's had a lot of guys reached out. He said he's had people reach out to him that are currently on NFL staffs that want to work with him in the UFL. That, to me, that's a pretty damn impressive thing. If you've got a league like the UFL that now can go ahead and not only get high-quality coaches like Ken, who is available, but also to have people wanting to work with Ken in the UFL, I think it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think the interest coming from the coaches, not just Ken, but like you mentioned, the other supporting cast, I think that's good for the league all up. Zach and I, it sounds like you have a point, so I'll make this short. We talked about this on the show last week with, it would have been nice. I would have liked to see a young coach, but at the same time, them going for a more established name does have some positives come out of it. To me, it shows that the league really does, Fox rather, is still interested in making this a premier league, if anything, on paper, right? People are going to know who Ken Wisenhunt is. People from Arizona are going to say, that's the guy that led us to our first and only Super Bowl. Didn't win the game, but you know what? That game could have gone either direction. That was a fluke play where the Cardinals lost. Maybe didn't have the best record with Tennessee, but that's another reason why the UFL's around as well. Give those opportunities. Now, if Ken can bring some good knowledge to the team, the GM, I think, has some good experience both from the spring league realm that I think it will help, hopefully help them rebuild a little bit faster than maybe they normally would. But it'll be interesting to see. Sorry, I didn't keep that as short as I maybe meant to. So
Oh.
Zach, I'll pass it off to you.
You put in a lot of good points there. What I was going to say was to bounce off of James a little bit. Him jumping back into the scene. It's been a few years. We kind of talked a little bit about this on the UFL podcast last week. He's been out of the coaching scene in the NFL since 2019. It was with under Anthony Lynn's leadership at the time. Was doing offensive coordinator work. Hasn't been in a coaching-esque role in 5 years. Hasn't really been on the sidelines, been analyst positions or special assistant to the head coach. But one thing I do think that helps with this tie-in, two things I look at. One, you get into the college scene. You look at younger guys that, hey, great talents in college. Doesn't mean all of them are going to get that opportunity. And he's been sitting on the sideline away from that too. You get that itch to coach again, and you've had time away. You're not in the public spotlight anymore. You're not Ken Wisenhunt, the 1.5-year coach that got booted out of Tennessee and didn't exactly have what was an impact in 2014 and 15 that people thought he was going to have, coming off only a short few years away from his great stint as an Arizona Cardinals head coach. So, you mentioned it when we talked. Funny enough, when I've talked with people offside the show, including my own dad, texted me immediately when we talked about this. This kind of feels like a Mike Nolan hire, like almost exactly like how Mike Nolan came in. Mike kind of slipped out of the NFL scene for a bit, kind of went away a little bit quietly. People didn't really been talking about him for a minute, and all of a sudden here he is, kind of getting that second chance, second win type of vibe with a professional league like this, where you can a little bit more mold your image and kind of, give back to the game is how I view it. And I think Ken's trying to do that in this way. It seems like that's what he's doing. Again, he's actively asking for, how can I be involved with this with Daryl already? This very much feels like another kind of Mike Nolan hire. Question is, will it be successful as Mike Nolan? We're about to find out. And James, as you brought up as well, a lot of former players already brought in. I mean, this is going to be interesting how you're going to balance a roster with a crazy ton of former players from last year already getting signed on.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, too, about very similar to Mike Nolan. That's exactly what Daryl Johnson said in the press conference, that this was a very similar process to the Mike Nolan hire back in the USFL, because it was Mike Nolan who reached out to Daryl wanting to be a part of the USFL when that opportunity opened up when Jeff Fisher left. Same exact thing happened here, which I think really goes to show that this league is making some major waves in the pro scene. It was not. Oh no! You guys still have me?
Yeah.
Oh, it might be a connection on his end. But
we can still
James
hear you,
talking
but-
about
Can
the
you hear
fact that
Yeah.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
good. You're
All right.
crystal clear.
I don't know what that was. I lost you guys for a second. But anyways, yeah, similar to the Nolan situation. Wisenhunt reached out, and I just think it's a testament to the league that over the last few years, especially now with the merger, it goes to show this league, it's making waves. People are seeing the success that it's having, and they want to be a part of it, and what they want to help it grow. Like Ken wants to come in and help this thing continue to go in the right direction. I think that's what's exciting.
I just think the fact too that he's saying he's getting calls from people in the league already. We've already seen some success stories through spring football where it's like, hey, screw it. This route, maybe I've stagnated. I need a different, view on my own coaching style, or maybe I need a different view as an assistant that can maybe lead me to a different pathway. It's worked here too, and I'm not, that's one thing. The more you establish this league and the more you show that, it's not just a players league, it's also a coaches league as well. There are opportunities and paths you can move up the ranks and move forward. So, really great to hear that in a press conference as well, that there's interest outside of just inner circle spring football people that we're talking about. We're talking about assistants that are saying, hey, new personnel getting hired on, just like any coaching opportunity. I want to be part of that. You're the head coach, hire me on. I want to be part of your staff, your group, and that's officially the new leaf turned over now that he's brought in and Manos is the GM.
So Ducky, you're pretty quiet over there. I know you have to have a lot of thoughts on this. I'll say this, season 1, you were a Breakers fan. Season 2, you were a Maulers fan.
I was the Breakers fan.
He was the Breakers fan.
You leaving the Breakers may have broke the team. That's probably why they didn't keep him along after. Anyway, season 3, I don't know who you were a fan of. Not St. Louis. I think that was.
I was.
It started DC.
I was gonna.
didn't it?
Yeah, I was going to be DC, and then their rabid I won't say the whole entire fan base. Somebody from their fan base, Matty Fresh, just started threatening me. So I just
It's good. Name drop now. All right.
And they cut
yeah.
Boogie.
I mean, it's on Twitter. I mean, he straight up just told people to attack me if I went to games. So I was like, okay, I'm obviously not going to be a DC fan.
And they cut Boogie.
And they cut Boogie. Yeah.
Well, the greatest sin of all. I mean, let's be frank.
And so after that, I just became a USFL conference fan. Whoever was going into the championship with that. So
And it worked in your favor. And you know what? Look what happened. Shut out. So
Yep.
some could say the tides go, they work in their favor if you're a fan of their team. Is there anything?
Breakers playoffs, Mahler's championship game, USFL conference, went to the championship game.
Some could say the Stallions may not have gotten that three-peat if you were not in attendance rooting for them. Some could argue that.
Honestly, I could say they definitely wouldn't have won if I wasn't there. Who's going to argue against me?
So what is it going to take? I mean, one, I'd rather you be a Roughnecks fan, but I just know you're not going to put the swangers on. You're not going to go all in. You're not going to put your heart into it and rough them up like I would. So I'm not even going to ask.
I don't think anybody would for CJ Johnson, but
Oh, come on, man. That is mean. CJ.
Oh, Will Lewis, though.
hey,
Exactly.
Will's a G. Will's doing some good stuff over there.
Oh, no, he is. So the transaction reports when you see that come down.
Dude, CJ
Good
Johnson and I are going to have a chat about you, James. I'm going to get you banned from TDECU. I'm going to say,
Jesus.
don't let this man in.
I'm probably already manned, so
There we go.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm rooting for this coming season. Depends what Ken does with his coaching staff. Maybe. Just depends.
Right
It'll
on.
definitely be a USFL
I wonder
conference.
wonder
game,
who
I'll
you
say
might
that.
be talking about, Dougie. I got
Yeah.
drawn a blank here.
Yeah.
Well, the anticipation grows. We still have plenty of time between now and kickoff. So this is why you guys got to tune in every week or whenever we go live with any of our shows to see what is the latest status. Where's Ducky sitting? What team is he rooting for? Because you might as well put your money on it now.
Yeah, and for the past 3 years, Webb and I have not even – we didn't do it on purpose, but we've rooted for the same exact team in some way. Because year 1, he was Breakers fan. Year 2, he's Maulers. Year 3, he went DC. So we'll see. Because I'm not talking to him about it either. But we're going to see if we end up in the same team.
We'll see. That would be interesting. Maybe that's meant to be. Maybe I need to ask Webb this question. Say, what team are you picking?
Where he's going, and then
then I'll know that's the Ducky plan. All right.
Yep.
Well, I like to hear it. I guess we'll bring it back. I don't know. What is some initial thoughts on this? I think we talked about, maybe we didn't, I don't know, but the players being signed while there was no coach. Do you think that was a good thing, bad thing, just a business as usual thing, just so he had something?
To mix of both. I talked to Daryl about it in the press conference, and really what they were looking to do was they wanted to make sure that the Showboats, their base of players was at least there for whoever came in at head coach and general manager. And the way Daryl worded it, too, was he didn't want any competitive leagues being able to take some of Memphis's best players. So that's why they had some of these guys sign letters of intent, because it allowed for the guys like Jonathan Adams and, David Davis actually was in the NFL, so he didn't re-sign until after the fact. But you had guys like, Jonathan Adams, Troy Williams is back in the mix. You've got John Atkins coming back, Greg Reeves, Jordan Ferguson, etc., Matt Coughlin. Those guys have all signed letters of intent. But that was really done by the league, and it was Daryl Johnson, Russ Brandon working with some of those Memphis position coaches to talk about, like, hey, who are some of the important players and who should we bring back for Ken or, whoever we end up bringing in. So that's kind of how that process worked. I've got mixed feelings about it, which I did write an article on, which if you guys want to go out and check it out on pfnewsroom.com, make sure you go ahead and do that about what this next era is going to be like in Memphis. But a few of those re-signings I'm not a big fan of, especially the fact that they brought back a good chunk of that offensive line, one that really struggled. Like, there was really never a point in the season where Memphis's offensive line played well. You had a couple weeks towards the end where they made a couple of adjustments, and they did enough to get by. but it still wasn't great. So I'm a little confused by that. And there's also a couple guys on that defensive side of the football that they're getting up there in age. You can tell they've lost a step. Maybe in a 16-team league, if we still had these two leagues separate, I'd say they deserve a roster spot. But in an 18 league, with it being this cutthroat, I don't think they should be on that roster right now. So we'll see how that works out. I'd assume most of that decision kind of was made by Cornell Lake, working with, Darryl, like, hey, if I'm back as DC, I want these guys back with me with my defense. And that makes sense. It makes sense why he'd want a John Atkins back, why he wants a Greg Reeves back, and Anthony Butler, Kyrie Woods, etc. But there are a couple names in there that I just don't think they should be on that roster.
Well, go on.
My thing is I'm with you with James. Like, if you're going to bring people back, the evaluation of what was the weakest position group on that team, offensive front, is what is concerning to me. Now, there's still some openness to sign some guys on. Of course, you still got to whittle down that roster eventually by camp, but no one was particularly good on that front five last year to where I can confidently say, where if I was on that staff going, yes, you need to bring him back. Unless this was a complete failure also on the execution front and how the scheme was run under John DeFilippo, which we can really go and dive into detail if we were looking at videos, I guess. But at no particular time last year was the offensive line, I felt, anywhere impressive. Couldn't get a consistent run game anywhere, and made Darius Victor look pedestrian by all measure. And then you also look at the pass protection, and, well, Case Cookus for the third straight year couldn't stay upright. And yes, he does hold on the ball a little bit, but still, anyone that you put back there was either him, Troy Williams, you name it, Josh Love, all of them getting hit consistently.
Well, to put it in perspective, Zach, Memphis gave up 38 sacks this year, which is the most of any team. The next worst team was Houston with like 24. That's 14 more sacks.
Proportionally bad.
Like, actually insane. And I do agree, because there's so much we could dive into with this Memphis team.
Keep in mind, that's over 50% more than the next highest team.
Yeah.
You just said absurd. That to me.
And, the thing is, too, we could dive into so much about, what went wrong in Memphis this year. And there is a lot more than just the offensive line. I mean, Case Cookus, we look back at some of his film. I get it. Like, he was in a bad situation. The lack of confidence was insane. I've never seen a Case Cookus be that. Like, so many open reads that he just straight up missed, holding onto the ball too long. Yes, a lot of those sacks were not his fault, but there's a good chunk of them that were, if we're being completely honest. There were guys that he
gotta wonder if years of hits caught up to him. Yeah. Because sometimes QBs just get rattled.
Absolutely. And it also just felt like him and John DeFilippo they never really clicked. They just weren't on the same page. It didn't feel like either one of them had full trust in each other. And I feel like that really kind of led to Memphis' downfall early on. But you can get back to what you're rambling about. Just had to throw in my 2 cents on that.
That was you covered up so much of it right there. I'm just saying that, now luckily it hasn't been everybody, but it has been a proportionate amount. And credit, maybe that's the evaluation from coaches as well. Maybe we didn't run this exactly right, and we these guys still have talent. I mean, Jordan McRae is still a very talented center. Don't get me wrong. So it's just
I don't know.
The downgrade that I was getting to it. The downgrade for year over year. I mean, that's the thing. Do you justify it year over year? Or do you look back at your 2023 Jordan McRae and go, well, if we can get that guy back, but.
I mean, the thing is, as well, is McRae wasn't even playing center. He was playing right guard. Mm-hmm. So that's another piece you got to take into the puzzle is, he struggled a lot this year, but was part of that because he was just playing a position that he shouldn't have been playing.
Oh, maybe. I mean, again, that was interesting part of his transaction listed him off as a center as well. So,
right. Well, that's what he's always been listed at. But yeah, he did not play center really at all this year. He was primarily at right guard.
Hmm.
So I hate to critique your work, James, but I feel like you left a golden opportunity on the table during this Ken Wisenhunt press conference. Year one Memphis Showboats, we knew the status of twerking. It was yes.
Oh my gosh.
Coach was doing it. Year two of the Showboats.
That's a question we ask him when we get him on this show.
Well, I mean, we got to get him here because we need to know if Wisenhunt's going to be dropping it down. You know what I mean?
Look, Ref, I do love your ideas, but that might be the end of my journalistic career in the UFL if I get on that press conference and Daryl Johnston hears me ask Ken Wisenhunt about if he's gonna twerk after he wins
But
the
what
ball.
if? Check it out though. What if though he twerks it up a little bit, just a little shake, a little
my.
bounce, and they get on that winning streak? You're gonna be.
I don't think anyone's gonna have as much bounce as Todd Haley. I'll tell you that much. But
No. It's going to take a lot
that
to match
recoil
the energy.
was something else.
I could say so much right now.
Well, I'm
a
just remembering too. Didn't they quote tweet you, Ducky, on the weren't?
Yeah, I said, what did I say? I said they haven't lost the game ever since Todd Haley was twerking, and they were on like a 3-game winning streak, I think, at that point.
Yeah,
Because
and then they put that
were
tweet over
losing.
him twerking.
Yeah, and then they lost, I think, the game after they tweeted that. That's pretty funny.
Got lost in the sauce a little bit.
I just remembered that as we were talking about the twerking. I was like, wait a minute, this actually ties to this show a little bit more than I initially thought. But hey, just in case, Coach Wisenhunt, you're listening, throw it back, see what happens.
I mean, hey, we never saw John throw it back, and they went 2-8, so it's a
I'm
fair
saying.
point to bring up.
That's
Exactly.
true.
Exactly. So what else? What else is on the docket?
Well, let me throw. Look, it's a new season, new me. So give me 1 second. I gotta get an old friend out.
Uh-oh.
We're back. Mr. Dickens is here, and I wanted to give you a few stat lines, as I'm also going to use my semi-blindness of 2 glasses to let me read this. So here we go. Well, a few things you need to know about Ken Wisenhunt. So first off, as a player, 3 different teams. Remember, these are all digits, so we're going to do numbers. 3 different teams as a player, 7 different teams as a coach in the NFL. College experience of 3 teams too. Overall record, 125 games coached at the head coaching level in the NFL with a combined record of 52 and 75. That includes postseason appearances during his NFL tenure. Remember, has 1 Super Bowl ring with the Pittsburgh Steelers, actually, and of course showed up and was 1 good drive away from possibly winning Super Bowl 43 with Kurt Warner, the man that revived Kurt Warner's career, by the way, too. Remember, came over from the New York Giants, was considered a left for dead veteran, revived his career, made a controversial decision at the time to start Kurt Warner over Matt Leinart. And Kurt went on to get another Super Bowl bid under his belt, became a Hall of Famer, and part of that career can be stemmed from yours truly. Ken Wisenhunt is quite an interesting pick, and the numbers say so.
Speaking of Matt Leinart, man, he is still mad about that. I imagine. I know he was for a long time. He made a couple public comments about being the better quarterback, and
I mean, keep in mind, like I said, Warner was not considered a viable good choice. He was considered this almost like an Andy Dalton at the time. Mm-hmm. It's just when he stepped back in and he realized he had some juice left in the tank and recovered from injuries and gotten some time off, he still was good. And Ken's system at the time helped propel that, along with the great weapons of, Larry Fitzgerald as well and Anquan Bolden that were there with those Cardinals teams. I want to hopefully see some similar explosiveness with Ken's offense when we get into here. A lot of it's going to stem on who he runs with at quarterback, which, I mean, they got Troy back. It's a good start. Can you protect him, though, and allow him to find those open receivers with like a David Davis or Jonathan Adams that also got signed back before Ken got picked up, or whoever Ken and Manos find that might fit that system better?
Yeah.
I think they definitely want to go outside of their current QB room and bring in some guys. I don't think Troy will top QB2 in Memphis this year. I could see him as QB3, if I'm being honest. Look back, watch a lot of the film. Look, a lot of it, some of it's not on him, but a lot of it was on him. Part of it's the system, I'm sure. He wasn't really running as much as he did in Pittsburgh, but his accuracy was a real issue this year. He was one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the league. He only completed 55% of his passes. Looking back at I just recently watched the Week 5 matchup against Michigan. So many high throws in that game. A couple of them got picked. Crucial plays where they needed Troy to step and make a play, and he just missed guys that were open. And that, I know part of it is it's not easy in that system because Memphis' system was from top to bottom a disaster, but it doesn't excuse a lot of the bad decisions that he made. He was making some pretty poor decisions this year.
When your O-line is Swiss cheese, you got to throw the ball.
I mean, yeah. Just honestly, you just got to find something that works. That's the thing. And it's usually what's interesting. Sometimes the lines you'll have like one good section where it's great on run, terrible on pass, vice versa. Nothing was working there, And I'm curious. And here's the thing: I want to know who they're going to pick. Who else is going to be picked up for talent, or who might be available? I was kind of looking back at the draft this year. Remember, they picked up Jason Bean. Bean's still with the Colts, so in credit, part of it's because it's injured list and he's on practice squad, but he was very impressive in preseason. Can't say Indianapolis might move on from him, so I think they're going to be holding on tight to him, at least on the rights. Don't expect him to show up anytime soon next year for the Showboats and for Wisenhunt's staff. So kind of makes me wonder where they're going to go with quarterback as well to fill out that room, if they can get some people back. I'm not even sure Case Cookus would want to return. Maybe he will, but he's been beat up 3 straight years, guys. That's the thing. Do you come back for a year 4, and are you confident enough that you're not going to get hit at a record rate again?
It's tough to say with Case, because you look at what he did this year and you kind of look at his body language in those games, and it just didn't seem like he had that full love for the game that he had in seasons past. He was obviously banged up, beat up, and it just looked like he wasn't as into it as past seasons. And part of it's he's kind of getting up there in age. He knows that NFL window's closing for him. I feel like he was kind of just like, hey, this might be my one last go at football, and I get to at least play for another year in professional football. It's not the NFL, but it's the best I can do. And some of the conversations I've had with staff in Memphis, or staff that was on that Memphis coaching unit there in 2024, they talked about it. He kind of was not as dedicated to studying the film and really working on things. And there's a reason why Josh Love saw a lot of success this last couple of weeks. Is he as talented as Case? No. Is he as mobile as Case? No. But he was the guy that was putting in the overtime hours, making sure he was studying day in and day out. He was going through every single rep as much as he could, going through mental reps, making sure he was meeting with coaches, after hours and things like that. Those were things Case Cookus was not doing. And I feel like it's why Josh Love looked like more of a leader out there, which is crazy to say, because I do think Case is the more talented quarterback, but Josh played better.
Yeah, sometimes understanding what you're running does help too. And if that is part of the equation, quite frankly, can't say that Love didn't want him more. That's the deal. And honestly, maybe a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I mean, keep in mind, year prior, dude was starting in Michigan and, had to kind of work his way up the roster, was basically moved over as a QB3 for that last season, found his way starting because they needed to, and honestly had the most success. Kind of wonder where he lands as well, because he also got a few NFL looks, but I would not be shocked if he's, or is right now, back on the market. And quite frankly, a veteran presence in this level doesn't hurt to have as a base. I would love to see where he lands. I think he gets a nod before the season, before training camp starts. I'm just wondering if it's here in Memphis or not.
And he's had a couple NFL workouts too.
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks
Exactly.
and 49ers, I think.
And then the other equation too is how we fantasize a little bit. What quarterbacks are the name guys? How we did this last year with some players that maybe are people we think should be in the NFL, like say a Matt Corral. But hey, maybe it ain't too bad to try the spring league scene. I'm still looking at Kellen Mond, for God's sake. I think that kid should be here, and he's been waiting on this opportunity for a few years now. But hey, I don't think it's coming, pal. I think you need to be here. I'm putting my public pitch out for him once again. You should be looking here. I want to see where he goes. I'm not saying Ken's picking him up, but that's a youngish talent that's not playing anywhere, not even on a practice squad, that if he still has the itch, now's the time, man. It's now or never.
Yeah. Now, I'll say this. We're getting to the point with the UFL now. It's going into its second year, third year next year. But realistically, we're looking at season 5.5-ish if you combine the XFL, the USFL. You could even throw the spring league in there. It's essentially been going nonstop since 2020, other than with a little bit of a dip through the illness that we shall not name. But I feel like the league now is exactly. Yeah, I don't. That is true.
I'm okay with that.
But I feel like we're getting to the point though where the UFL, or this iteration of whatever you want to call it, spring football, is starting to get the recognition from not just the players, but the coaches. I think the Ken Wisenhunt thing shows that. The Mike Nolan thing shows that. And the more that we can get players into the NFL, the more that recognition is going to grow. Because I'll tell you, I mean, Jake Bates, I see it each week with the Lions. I'm going to be watching it tonight with the Lions Monday Night Football game. Every time he makes a field goal or an extra point, they're bringing up that he was in the UFL. Every time Kevontae Turpin, Brandon Aubrey does something, they're bringing up that he's in the UFL. And I guarantee you there's people that are trying to get into the NFL, watching NFL, hearing that, saying, you know what? Maybe it is time. Maybe it is time. I go there a year, 2 years. If it works, I get back into the NFL. If it doesn't, you get to live out your dream. You still get to make a little bit of money doing the thing that you want to be doing. So that was the shame of it to me of the merger is the USFL was going into that third season. Would have been the fourth season right now. And I feel like, however the merger worked out, but if we had that USFL name front and center because of that, I almost feel like there would have been a little bit more of that recognition here already. We had to juggle things around last year, not just us, but production, the coaches, the players, half the teams got cut, right? And so we're kind of back on ground. We're actually, if anything, but the league is dropping news a little bit earlier than they even tended to do prior to the merger, which is a good sign. We've always talked about this on the show, Zach. It's always like September, you might hear a rumor. October, you might hear a little bit more confirmation, but that's once you get into November, December, a little bit news starts dropping. By January, it's a full-blown assault. Whereas this year, we're wrapping up September today. We already got kickoff date. We already have season tickets on sale for a few locations. Personally, in Houston, I'm signed up. We're back at TDECU. We have the head coaching announcement of Ken Wisenhunt, which I've seen in the past where, it's like less than 2 months before kickoff and we don't know a coach, So to me, things are definitely moving in the right direction. I hope to see a couple things. One, I want to see the quality of gameplay be sustained, if not grow, right? I want to see the teams that are good continue to be good. And I want to see the teams that didn't maybe deliver last year, Houston, go on and do and grow from at least where they were. I also want to see, and I feel like we're starting to see it a little bit, I want them to be on their ground game. Because again, if we're gonna play in all 8 stadiums, let's put in the work to get people into those stadiums. We talked about this last week, Zach. The one thing they're doing right in Memphis, it is affordable. It is cheap. You can get a season ticket for, I think, around $100. Not as cheap in Houston, but still, in the grand scheme of things, if I was going to go to an NFL game, it's about a game and a half in the nosebleeds for a whole season. I'll take it, right? But if they can deliver on those two things, to me, that's good. Now, what I would hope to see out of season 3 is what I would have hoped to see out of the USFL going into 3 and 4, potential owners, more interest from the business and the funding, continue growing the league, because it looked like Venue was going to be a potential venue to kind of grow the UFL and also grow the streaming app by way of content. But it seems ever more likely that we may never see Venue. So to see Fox still interested in the league without a venue is a good sign in my book.
I do want to hear your guys' thoughts, by the way, as we're talking growth of the league. Because we've talked about this, at least I know there's been talk about the Friday night games and whatnot, but I do want to hear you guys' thoughts about Friday night football. Because now I'm not going to compare it directly to the college numbers, but for Friday ratings for sports on Fox, it's been pretty successful so far. Their Friday night football showcase that they've started, it's been pretty damn good. They've been getting upwards of 4 million to about just under 3 million a night right now. And that's primetime television on a Friday night.
Not bad at all. And you know what? I'll say that's better number than SmackDown. So, Fox is pretty happy about that.
I'm cutting off maybe a fraction of that. My hope is that pushes up the million mark. That magical 1 million ratings mark on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I feel like it is. If we're
I don't
talking that,
think so.
that the UFL's that next step in the ratings just below college,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
think
hoping for.
I think it's going to be tough, but I'll say this. If the UFL strategically puts fun matchups with fun atmospheres on Friday nights, so I see, and Ducky, you probably hate me for this, but I would see
Probably.
if you put DC on that opening Friday night game to open the season off, they're going to be out there with a damn beer snake. They're going to be getting loud. It's going to be kind of like a frat party because
I think, yeah,
go on.
I think DC having Friday games is a good thing. Because they honestly got stuck with so many Sunday games or Sunday games. Like I feel like they deserve them.
I mean, I can already hear Birmingham fans. I can hear Luke in the distance yelling, "Put us on at night!" Although, that's what I can hear it right now.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. They got
that's half the Birmingham crowd is Southern heat sucks. We don't want to be on after church. Put us on a day where it's like cooler and we're not. I'm not saying it's always Birmingham, but like you can just hear that. Like, I can just hear that in the distance right now.
That the way I picture it is like imagine St. Louis going into DC night game, and they just get absolutely blown out, like 60-0 at DC. That's just icing on the cake.
That would be fun. Throw some lemons on the field too. You know what I mean? Have at it. But to me, that would be great. And then
twist his ankle on a lemon.
Oh my God.
The stories that would come, that would be the one that all the mainstream press would roll with,
What is I say Brandon Silvers. He'll be helping his boss sell real estate and also guiding a team.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sign him up. But yeah, I mean, to your point,
I think Friday nights is going to be tough, and I don't have high expectations for them, if I'm being completely honest. I think Fox will be happy if they get several 100,000 viewers per game for those. Friday nights in the spring, people are out and about. People are going outside. There's a lot less going on. There's also less people just watching TV in general, so it's kind of hard to compare ratings from the fall to what we're going to see in the spring. We saw the XFL do a couple of Friday night games back in 2023. Those did terribly. Granted, those were on channels like FX or ESPN2. So, yes, not exactly apples to apples, but I think Fox, if they can consistently get 600, 700,000 viewers per game on a Friday night, I think that's great for year one because by that I mean year one of Friday night games, because that actually opens the door for people to continue to realize that, hey, there's going to be football basically year round on Friday nights now. And then you're going to eventually have a lot of football fans tuning in year 2, year 3. All of a sudden you can realistically hit that million mark, hit 1.2 million, hit 1.4 million consistently. I think that's more the long-term goal here for Fox, because truthfully, I think there's going to be a lot of people in the spring that are like, we didn't even know football was still going on Friday nights. Like they're just not.
We could barely get Jake to do the podcast when the weather's nice. So.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, to the point, I'd be even happy if they get 500,000. If they can consistently get 500,000 on a Friday night, to me, that's not bad because, it isn't apples to apples because I think FX1, 300,000 was probably pretty good for that network, right? But I mean, one thing that I think we just got lucky with in a lot of those instances of the weird late night games or these Friday games is even if they started out slow, somehow, some way, they always had the craziest circus fourth quarter. And I don't know. Don't rig it, but make sure you have those teams playing on a Friday night. Make it a fun game that somebody's just flipping through the channels, because I feel like those are the people you're really going to get on a Friday night. Somebody that's home, they're bored, they're flipping through, they don't know what to watch. Oh, what the hell's football's on? Or, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that the spring league stuff was around, right? You draw them in, you see... We'll just say Case Cookers break a tackle, throw something, get hit 15 times and still throw a touchdown, something like that. You draw them in.
The lead 60-7.
Yeah,
Ken Wilson on down 53 in his head coaching debut in the UFL.
Oh God!
Yep. Just put up a USFL conference matchup. That'll be a good game. It's really good, talented teams.
Especially that Houston Roughnecks, dude. I'm telling you, now that we got that new stadium, everything makes sense in the world. Everything makes sense in the world why we didn't go 12-0 last year. I had to check my calculations. I went to the drawing board. I was trying to do the algebra, all of it to see what went wrong. How did my equation equal 12-0? And I came so far. And the
CJ
one piece
Johnson.
that was missing, no. It has nothing to do with CJ or Johnson. It has everything to do
Nothing to do with
Eric
Johnson.
Price.
with the stadium. With that stadium, I'm telling you, now that we're at TDECU, we're going to win. We're going to win, and we're going to win big. It's going to be so good. It's going to be great. Best season ever. They're going to name the trophy the Roughnecks Trophy. They might even name it CJ Johnson's iPad.
I doubt it.
CJ Johnson's iPad. I have a Rico S in the chat's asking, is this on Fox or FS1? It's on Fox. They're not going on FS1 for this. This is a Friday showcase for sports. Fox made the decision back during some of their upfronts in the summer that Fridays are for sports moving forward. They're not putting any emphasis on shows. Expect a sports program on Friday nights. That's what the UFL's doing. That's what they're doing in college football right now. It's on Fox. Key point.
Which is why James is wrong, and they will get over 1 million views.
Oh,
Okay, we'll just have to wait and see.
I honestly, I've never been wrong in this space before.
I think you guys should wager some points. How many points would you like to wager on this? I'll put 69. It in the point. All right, 69.
you want to? This needs to be clipped if we're going to be doing this.
What was the
How many points do I even have?
Do you still have the?
You definitely have at least 69 now because you're wagering it. So.
Well, you'll have to. You might get into the negative. We've not had to deal with negative points yet.
What does
but,
that mean?
to me.
yeah.
And I charge heavy interest.
Oh, I like this. See, everybody. What's the points for? We're getting
Betting.
pointy now.
We're gonna be saying this 8 seasons from now. Hey guys,
Live.
what's the
Las
point
Vegas.
for? We're
waiting
getting there.
for-
We're getting there.
We're
What
waiting for a
was the
sponsor.
bet for though? See, over 1 million. Oh yeah, over a milli on Friday between James and Ducky. Okay, no.
At least
now
one of the Friday night
Are
games.
we going, Ducky? Are we going with like for the opening Friday night game or the average for all the Friday night games?
At least one of them throughout the season. We'll get over 1 million.
So at least, so you have a 1 in 10. So you have a 10 times chance.
That's
I'll tell you
that's
this, though.
ridiculous.
Well, hold on. Let me defend Ducky.
See,
here.
because I'm sure
Because-
there'll be one of them that maybe can hit 1 million. I'm just saying.
I'm never wrong, baby.
I think the average would be
Look,
several hundred
like,
thousand.
here's my take. If you have a Stallions Battlehawks matchup on Friday night,
Right.
that's like his easiest bet, I think, is to possibly hit that.
Dude, I'm gonna be
coveted
down
1 million
69
mark.
points.
All right.
You're taking that?
Two of the games.
Wait,
will go
James,
over
you're
1
taking
million.
this bet with the 10 chances?
Oh, I thought
he's
I
getting?
already did. I thought I didn't have a choice. to
Okay,
back
well
out.
then never mind. I guess you're
All right,
locked in.
I'll up it to two. Two of the games will reach over 1 million.
Oh,
Okay.
All right. That ups the stakes to, I think, a good balance there. I like that.
Well, it's in the notes document. And for those who wondered, Ducky has 5 points. So if he loses at this point, well, we haven't calculated points.
Now
but
keep in mind, one thing that's in his favor, I will, and I'm going to double check
Fox.
this. I'm not saying this wrong. One thing that's in Ducky's favor here is, to me, that the season starts on a Friday night. And as we know historically,
Oh, dang
the
it.
start of the season generally hits 1 million views for a few of these games. So unless this Friday flops massively, one of these seems to be a lot.
My argument was that it was not going to average 1 million. My argument was that the Friday nights Fox would be happy if it averaged several 100,000. That's what I was saying.
I
Here we go.
think Fox would be happy if it hits those high 6 figs like it was doing throughout the season. That's what I'm expecting. But I think its ambition is they want it to be where it's a special, it's going to be UFL night and a huge chunk of the people tune in and they can hopefully get 1 million per.
At this
and more
point, I'm ready to
sponsorship
just give
opportunity.
Ducky 69 points because I know I'm
Well,
losing this bet.
here-
Look, he
What
sounds
I
like a
know about
Battlehawks
this
fan
anyway.
right now, complaining.
Oh. We're in season form if Ducky's starting to whip these Battlehawks pieces out like that.
So this is what I hope it comes down to. I hope the first game hits 1 million, and I hope every game is really close to 1 million,
Championship on a
just
Friday.
like 999, of 1 million every game up into that last game of the season, which is up against has the 9-0 Roughnecks versus it doesn't matter whoever. just to see if we can complete
Anyone.
our greatness and go into the offseason and finish what we should have finished a long time
whatever you
ago.
say, man. We got Bryce Perkins for a full season this year. So as long as no injury issues happen, I think we're going to start off even on a hotter foot. Just got to throw my Michigan piece. And Jake's not here either. So I got to cover for two people
Hey,
here. That's what
people
I'm
are
telling
sleeping on Panthers. They've re-signed a
These
lot of really good
signings, they're
players.
bringing back most of the good guys. And Bryce is back along with Danny Etling.
And they're bringing in a couple new pieces that look good. Like, they might be.
It's a shame too. It's a shame because they're just going to lose to the Roughnecks in the playoffs.
As the man that has not watched me have to give over a loss to you in 2 years now. It's great.
I mean, we had that one though, and it was really good.
I love the. You know what? Props to you. Rico S likes that you're the homer you are. So you get some sort of points out
I
of this
wouldn't
for
even
that.
call it being a homer. Here's the thing. If the
Homer
Roughnecks
baby.
were like a shitty team, I'd get it. But they're not. They're going to be the greatest team. You wait. You all just wait. We're going to put swangers on their
Now we're in
bus.
mid-season form.
Okay.
And
There's
refs using the S word.
there's Homer there's Homer behavior and then there's delusional Homer behavior.
Ref is
We're
what
gonna
we
put
call a little
swangers on their-
Delulu.
Well, I mean, we're going to put swangers on their airplane.
I expect swangers on that Fiat of yours by the end of the season.
We're putting swangers on the Fiat. We'll put swangers on the golf cart, dude. We are going to put swangers on the stadium. Make it make sense.
What do you guys think of the Battlehawks getting 6 home games?
You know, we haven't really got to talk to that as a group on film. We talked about that 2 episodes ago, and
Didn't we talk about that on ATU, or am I tripping?
well,
No.
okay, you might honestly.
I don't think so. Oh,
well,
maybe
no,
we
there was
did.
an episode where I didn't show up. It was a few months ago. So
We may have.
I'm not gonna.
I don't know.
I'm not go too
I was just
far.
thinking about how I hate the
Oh,
Battlehawks.
no. I don't think we did. I was on the end zone. That's who I talked to
Okay,
about
then
it.
here's the rehash of what me and Stefan talked about. Don't keep the precedent past this year. That's just my simple take. Like, okay, cool. You couldn't get the scheduling done this year, so you compromised. However, thought we were kind of past this with the merger. You know, we're doing the XFL style. Everybody's at a home game. There's no flexing for hubs and whatnot. I'm just saying, I get it with the money sense. People have talked the money side of this thing. Yes, you get another game sold where it's going to get 30,000+ fans and all that. Cool. But don't screw over your fans in other markets too much. That will come to bite you in the ass if you do it long term. This
game
has
should
to
have
be
been
a
played in
one-season thing.
It should have been played in Arlington. Purely a money thing, obviously. Like, I get it from a business side perspective, but you are putting a bad taste in San Antonio's mouth by giving basically their biggest rival at this point. I mean, San Antonio and St. Louis went at it all year, and it was San Antonio that went into St. Louis and beat them in the XFL Conference Championship game. I'm not a fan at all of this move. That game should have been played in Arlington. Easily could have been played at Choctaw Stadium. I'm shocked that they didn't try to find somewhere else in Texas, even if, like, I don't in the long
Are
look.
you shocked, Todd?
It's one of those short-term wins, long-term losses, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like,
But it just doesn't look great for the market
No,
you're trying to
terrible
bring.
look.
And again, this isn't just this, but like San Antonio is considered one of these like keystone markets. Like, oh, look what it used to be. We're trying to get people back up to like this 20,000 seats a game. Well, okay, cool. Yeah, supply demand. If we're thinking that way, like, yeah, less games, maybe we'll get more people in because there's gonna be FOMO. You miss a game, but like saying you got 4 games because, well, we couldn't schedule it outright. And this is a league where we're trying to mimic professional outdoor leagues where we're going to make this work.
Could have been a neutral site easily.
That's what I'm saying. It does, that's the part where it doesn't look good. You know, it's like you can't do that. This, sure, we'll give you a one-off, but like, look, moving forward, you can't do it. I'm sorry. You can't,
Especially
cannot set that precedent every year like
in
that.
a conference where I don't think the playoffs were determined until week 10 for the XFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who
Yeah,
was
I don't
playing?
well,
so.
they knew
Yeah.
that St. Louis and San Antonio were in it. We just didn't know who was going to be playing home.
Okay. Well, either way, it wasn't determined until week 10,
Yeah.
the finals of the playoffs.
And
So-
you're sending them into a stadium where they got shut out in the championship. So, like, their last game there is not memorable by any means for their fans or the team itself. So, yeah, it's
Funny enough, the Battlehawks weren't in that game, though.
Well, it's true.
I mean, luckily the flip side of that coin is that they have been competitive even on the road. So there's that. But I digress. That's besides the point. Again, taking a home game away like that because you couldn't figure it out. Like this isn't the USFL where we had flexibility and there was an understanding here. This is 8 markets. These teams need to be in markets. They should be playing their full schedule. That's the simple fact. Financials be damned. All fans should be treated equal here. And you just can't do that moving forward past this year. Whatever, you get one, but that's really it. Like, that's already kind of a sour grapes for a good chunk of Brahmas fans I've seen online. Don't do it again. That is a warning right there to me. It's a warning.
Yep.
Well, it was a fun show. I don't know. I do got to jump. I know all of us, we all have big plans.
I got one
yes.
one little nugget.
Yeah.
I'll leave the audience off with one little fun nugget before we wrap things up. But this whole Memphis hiring process, there was Daryl was talking about it, how there was, they went through a big process. They had like about 12 candidates, and then they shrunk it down to their top 6 that they brought in for interviews, 3 external, 3 internal. The 3 internal candidates, I'm told, that were interviewed. 1, Anthony Blevins. Obviously makes a lot of sense. Anthony would have been the Vegas Vipers head coach, ended up on Birmingham staff. Who knows what's going to happen with him, but he's technically still going to be on payroll, so we'll probably see him involved in some way, shape, or form because of that Vegas contract still in place. 2, Bruce Gradkowski, St. Louis Battlehawks offensive coordinator. He was the guy that was interviewed. I mean, he's had a lot of success with A.J. McCarron in that offense. I know some fans weren't too pleased with the way he ran things down the stretch of that season, putting A.J. into like 3-trick plays in the playoff game when he was on one foot. That was weird. But, he has had a lot of success. And then the third candidate was Jay Hayes, Arlington Renegades defensive coordinator. That one is a really interesting one to me because the Arlington defense wasn't that good this year. Jay Hayes hasn't been a fantastic defensive coordinator, so it was interesting. But, two of the 3 names really made sense between Gradkowski and Blevins. But, Daryl did say that all of the internal candidates that they interviewed were impressive. So we'll leave it at that. Yep. But it was Ken Whisenhunt who got the job. So,
and with Bruce making AJ look like a good quarterback, that says a lot.
What a mark. You know what? On that note, I need to
good way to leave off.
I need to get off so I can wake up Billy Joe Armstrong, okay?
Yep. I got to go do SDEM's mom, so.
Well, let's do some points before we do all these very important tasks that need to be done here. Ducky, you had some very good points. You made a hell of a wager, so I'm going to give you some points. You drop people by name. That's always worth an extra point to me. I think I'm going to go a 6er. I'm going to drop you a 6er. That brings you up to 11 points here. James, again, you put it a lot on the line there because that's a lot of points. And you know what? You've been putting out so many articles. You were on the press conference. I think that's worth at least 10 points. So that'll bring you up to 25. I'm going to make this to where you're losing. You're either going to lose 69 points and it won't hurt, or you're not going to lose 69 points and you're going to be so far ahead of everyone. So we'll see how this all works out. Zach, you don't have any points. Is that right? You haven't been on a show since we've come back, or no?
I mean, there was one other show we've had this offseason that I slept through because of night shift.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense then. All right. Good. So you know what? I'm going to put you at 8 points. 8 points. And you know what? I'll put me at 7 points. Oh, shit.
Hey, put it down to 6. You just cursed again.
Damn it.
There we go.
Oh,
You know
hey,
what?
I forgot. I can
I'll
also do that too,
I'll
by the
do
way,
that.
this year.
There we go.
Hey.
We got dual functionality.
One of these days I'll get mine set up and we'll do it. I can just hit this button. Does anyone tell me what that sounded like? Did anybody hear it?
Sounds like my bed whenever SDEM's mom's in it.
See, I can't hear the. Yeah, well, I set you up for that one.
Oh my God.
So here's the deal, folks. Social media. What the hell are you doing at Around the UFL, at PF Newsroom, at UFL Newsroom, at all of us? You can find our links down in the description. And while you're heading down there, make sure you click the subscribe button. Click the bell. It builds morale. It also lets you know when we go live, just like this show, just like Spring Stock 4, and just like many, many other things. I don't know. I think that's really it. There's links down below. Click the Discord. if you haven't been to the
Thank you.
the Discord is one of the most beautiful things that's ever been created on this planet. If you ever think AI is going to take over, I got good news for you. It's not, because our Discord exists. And if AI ever got to our Discord, it would say, I give up. I don't want to do this anymore. And so that's why you should come and join us. Come and join a good football discussion with a bunch of fun people. Yeah, I think that's it. So any final thoughts from anyone before I put the little thingy up? No, I'll take it. All right, guys. Until next time, sign you up.
Carnal Lake sucks.